Today I'm going to share with you what a PIF is and how you can use it and when you should use it and a bunch of other things. This is normally a paid training that's reserved only for my paid clients, but today I'm going to share it with you for free so you can use it to make yourself more money because I'm feeling good, I'm feeling happy. It's a good day. It's a good day to have a good day, so I hope you're having a good day so far. All right, so let's answer a couple questions. Okay, what is a PIF? Well, a PIF just stands for paid in full, which is where somebody prepays the entire portion of your program up front, right? So for example, if you go to the gym and they say, hey, it's $100 a month, or it would be, $1,200 for the year. But if you pay now, you could just pay $1,000 and you get the whole year, right? So that is the idea of a paid in full. It's where you pay the full amount of something up front. And typically, you get given a discount for doing so. We'll dive more into the whole discounts and all this stuff in a little bit. I just want to explain the fundamental of this. And like for context, this first little bit will be a bit boring, but you need to understand the fundamentals of what a PIF is, why you should, when you should, how to structure it, to understand how you can make more money. And the pros of using a PIF is very simple, right? When somebody pays you more money up front, so let's even, let's do an example. So what is a PIF? You now know what a PIF is, right? Check mark. We can check this off. You know what a PIF is. PIF is a paid in full. Someone prepays your thing up front. Why you should use it, okay? Let's explain this. So the reason why you should use a PIF is, let's say if you normally charge somebody, let's say if you have a 90-day program and you normally charge people $1K, right? So let's say this is $1K per month for the journey of the 90 days. Well, this means every time you sign a client, you then make $1K, right? So every time you sign a client, you make $1K because that's how much they're required to pay upfront. So here's the problem with this. Or not the problem, but here's why PIF is so useful. Let's say it costs you, for whatever, your cost to acquire, your CAC, is also $1K for whatever reason. That means you would then break even on your investment, and you'd only make money after the first month. So this is month one, right? You make $0, and that month two, you then make your $1,000, and so on, right? In month three, you would then make another $1,000, which would be $2,000 total. Okay. Here's the problem though, is typically speaking, what happens is people don't actually stay for the entirety of the 90-day program. Right? People churn. And so if we look at this on a timeline of this is M1 and this is M3, you might have 100 people sign up here, right? So if we look at this even on a graph, right? 100 people sign up here, but after the second month, which is M2, you might have half the people quit. And after month 3, you might only have 10% of the people left, which means that if people do not pay you up front, you're missing out on like 70+% of the revenue you could be making. And so this is why PIFs are so good, is because you get all this money up front. But this isn't just the only reason why. Because another reason why PIFs are so good, and I guess what I'll try and explain here, is that when you collect more money up front, instead of collecting $1K up front, you would collect $3K up front, right? In this example of this PIF that we're doing. What this allows you to do is it allows you to spend more on ads, because here you break even. Right? And sometimes people even cut, have a bit of a loss on their initial cost to acquire a customer. But here you break even, 1K for 1K. And so what happens is when you're spending money on ads or team, etc., if you can charge more up front, you can liquidate your costs easier. And so what happens is if you're spending $1,000 on ads and you acquire and now you get $3K up front, well now, right, it costs you $1,000, right, so 1K, and you make $3K, which means that you are left with $2K. And guess what you can do with that $2K? You can go put into ads and acquire 2 more customers, right? So you can then acquire 2 more customers. And guess what? These 2 more customers are going to pay you $3K each, right? So 1 and 2, $3K, which means you have now made $6K from only your initial $1K spent, right? Because you now got this. And so it's infinite money. As long as you have a little bit of money to start, you now have an infinite money printer, right? You put in 1K of your own money, and then you made 3K someone else's money. And then after the cost to acquire, you technically had 2K. You use that to put back into ads, okay? Because you paid yourself back for whatever reason. You pay yourself back. You put the 2K back in ads. You go 2 more clients for 3K each. Now you have 6K. Now with this 6K, you can acquire 6 more clients. And guess what? These 6 more clients are going to pay you 3K each. And so now look at this. You literally have an infinite money printer. Infinite, right? This is an infinite money printer right here. You just infinitely in perpetuity for the rest of your life print money from only your small little investment. And this is why PIF on the business side is so good. Also why, here's what happens, is typically people churn after month 2, month 3, whatever the case. People churn, right, for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't get the value right away, maybe whatever the case is, people churn. And so when you charge more up front, you collect more of this initially. And so you have less churn inherently, because now instead of waiting 1, 2, 3 months for someone to actually pay the remainder of their balance, they've paid it all to you up front. And so you actually decrease your churn, you increase your LTV because now you've collected more of your money up front. But here's the catch. Here's what people don't understand, right? So this is all fine and dandy, right? All this stuff is amazing. This is, this makes us all happy. Okay, I'm going to put myself over here to make this easier. This makes us all happy, right? We love seeing this as business owners. We love this stuff. Here's the catch, is most people, especially in this day and age, are what we call scared to commit. Okay? They are scared to commit. And granted, I'll talk about how to structure this, etc. in a second. But they're scared to commit. And so what happens is typically when you present this offer of a $3K up front, yada, 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 they're like, I don't know. I need to think about it. It's expensive. I don't have that kind of money, etc. And what you can do is when you have a PIF is you can actually break the PIF down back into the original monthly recurring that you did and use the PIF, which is the 3K, as a price anchor. Because a lot of people are scared to commit. And so most people will want a payment plan or some form of lower commitment to join. And here's the catch. If you present 1K a month, they've now planted the seed in their mind that, okay, 1K is the amount, that's a lot, right? Because when someone says something is expensive, it's only expensive compared to something else. And so if you want something to not seem expensive, just charge an absolutely absurd amount first and then name a lower amount after and they'll say it's nothing, right? If you charge someone 100K, right? Imagine you charge someone 100K for a service and they go, I don't know. You can say, hey man, no worries. How about this? How about we just do 1K today? We'll set up the systems and we can figure out the rest later. Or how about if we just do 1K and instead of adding that team building thing we were talking about, we just cut that off and then do the rest, but it'll just be 1K. Imagine how much easier this is to say yes to. If you've price anchored it 100K, they're thinking about 100K, and now you charge them 1K. This is like a rounding error in 100K. And therefore, they're more likely to say yes because of this idea of price anchoring. It's the same with a PIF, right? If you charge the 3K up front first, like, I don't know, you say, hey, man, and once you figure out the real objection is actually money, which is a whole different story. You can watch my objection hunting videos on that. You would then be, okay, hey, man, let me ask you this. If I was able to potentially break this 3K out over a longer period of time to make it more digestible for you so there's a lower commitment for you to get started, is that something that would be easier for you and more feasible? Yeah, that'd be amazing. Oh, cool. Well, let's talk about how we can kind of break this down to make it so that we can get you those results quicker, yada, yada, yada. And now you've opened up the conversation again to close them. Now, we've just talked about, okay, so we've covered what is the PIF. We've talked about why you should use it. When should you use it? We'll talk about right now, okay? You should use a PIF anytime when you run a business where you have, typically speaking, high cost to acquire cost, right? So high customer acquisition, CAC, or even when you just run any sort of monthly program. Because here's the thing. It's also in the client's best interest to pay this. Why? Because when they pay this, they stay longer, right? They actually stay longer because they've already prepaid the full thing. What happens when they stay longer? Well, when they stay longer, you have more time to learn what they're doing, which makes it that you give more time to actually give them results because now you're spending more time with them and you're tweaking and learning more together, right? If you went to the gym for 1 month versus 5 months, who's going to get better results? Well, the guy who went for 5 months. And so the longer the time horizon, also, the more likely someone is to get results because you can actually figure stuff out. Now, another reason why they'll actually get better results is because when somebody pays more upfront, they're more committed. And when they're more committed, they try harder. When someone tries harder, even without you changing anything that you do, you will then make more money. Or rather said, they will then make more money because they're actually trying harder. Right? And so just by you charging more, it'll have your clients trying harder, which means that they will care more about what you do. And when they care more about what you do, they will make more money. Crazy how that works, right? Imagine personal trainer. The reason, think about this. Fundamentally, everyone knows what personal trainers do. All of us do it. Me and you could be a personal trainer, right? So why do people pay personal trainers thousands of dollars? It's not for the personal training. It's for the accountability. It's for the commitment, right? For the person to say, I'm putting money where my mouth is. I'm going to show myself I'm going to do this. And so that's why personal trainers who charge more get their clients better results because their clients are more committed. It's weird how that works, but it works that way, right? Because when you pay more, you feel that you're like, if you paid a lot of money for something, you will go out of your way to try and use it to justify the fact that you paid a lot of money on it. But when you buy a little something like this, like these Post-it notes, I could lose these Post-it notes tomorrow and I wouldn't give a shit, right? Because who cares? They're just some post notes, whatever. I didn't spend a lot of money on them. But if I spent $10,000 on these, you best believe they wouldn't be sitting here, I wouldn't be ruffling them up on this, and I'd be like taking good care of them. And so just by spending more money, we spend more time to something, and we dedicate more of our energy to that, which is another reason why if you spend more money, they'll get better results, okay? So when you should use it is typically in those scenarios, right? Typically when you're charging a month-to-month thing, when you have maybe high churn, when it takes a while to get your clients' results. Like I can't tell you sitting here not knowing you in your certain situation when you should and or shouldn't charge a PIF, but mostly you're better off charging a PIF because guess what? Worst case scenario, you charge the PIF, they say no, and then you break it down into your 1K for 3 payments. And you're back at where you started anyway. And then some people will take you up on this regardless because they just want to. And so you've just made yourself more money by having this as the initial offer. And you've made it more likely for people to say yes because now you've price anchored your 1K with the 3K. And so it actually is easier to say yes to this afterwards. And it sounds like you're doing them a favor as well, which makes them even more likely to say yes. See how this works? Okay? So that's what is a PIF, why you should use it, when you should use it. Let's talk about how to structure a PIF. So very simply put, the best way, in my opinion, to structure a PIF and the way you should say it to your prospects is basically like this. So let's say you do have a 90-day thing. Okay, so it's 90 days. And to make this super simple, we will just say that it's 3K for the 90 days. Or let's just say 3K. Okay, 3K over the course of 90 days. My favorite way to structure a PIF is to say this. Hey, okay, the investment or the cost, say whatever you want, of this program is 3K over the 90 days, comma, however, because here's the thing, you don't want to just have a PIF just for the sake of having a PIF. You want to incentivize someone to take a PIF. Why? Well, we just talked about why. We talked about all the reasons why. You get to spend more money on ads, you can infinitely grow, you decrease churn, you increase LTV, yada, yada, yada. If you are still asking me why, you should go back to the rest of the video, okay? So we want to incentivize them for taking a PIF. How? Well, let's say if your program costs 3K over 90 days. Instead of just saying, hey, it's 3K over 90 days, what we'd say is this. It's, hey, the cost of the program is 3K over 90 days. However, okay? I'll even write it out for you. You know what? I'll write this out for you like this so you can see this. Boom, boom, boom. However, I can't type either. Oh my goodness. However, if you want to prepay, or rather said, if you want to save some money, you can prepay just 2K up front. So actually the way I'd word this is, if you like to save money, I can knock off $1,000 if you prepay today. This is my favorite way to structure a PIF, which is, hey, the cost is, so I should put this in here. The investment is 3K over 90 days. However, if you would like to save some money, I can knock off $1,000 if you prepay today. That means the program would only be 2K one time, ... And then you shut the fuck up. Okay? And what happens is when you frame it like this, the person initially hears this 3K, right? They hear this, they're like, 3K. And you say, however, if you like savings, I can knock off $1,000 if you prepay today. That means it would just be 2K one time. And here's what happens. They think, wow, 3K over 90 days. They didn't even know it was going to be a retainer, but you said 3K over 90 days. And they were saying it's 2K one time. So they're probably thinking it's going to be 1K, right, over the course of 3 months. So you're going to pay 1K today, 1K next month, 1K the following month. So now if you say, hey, it's only 2K, they're like, wow, you're telling me I can just pay 2K once and I never have to pay ever again? They're like, wow, that's actually a pretty good deal, right? Now, I know many of you are like, but Stefan, I don't want to charge less. Okay, well, let's say your program is 3K over 90 days. Then instead of saying the investment is 3K over 90 days, just say it's 4K, and instead of making it 2K, make the prepayment 3K. Right? Just do this. And then, now if someone takes up on the prepay, cool, you have your initial offer. If they don't, you just make more on monthly recurring revenue anyway, because it would be like 1.3K split up. And what happens is most people are still going to turn you down on this. And you say, okay, fine. Well, then what we could do is 4K over 90 days. We could do 2K now and 2K in 45 days. Right? Or we could do, what is that, like 1.3K per month. And then you just give them these 2 payment options. Always give them 2. Okay, therefore you give them the illusion of choice. And boom. And the reason why this works so well is a lot of people, they do PIFs wrong. What they try and do is they say, oh, yeah, so it's $3K for the program, right? So it costs $3K. The person's like, I don't know. Like, do you have any payment options? Like, yeah. So if it's payment options, it's going to be $2K per month for 3 months. And the person's like, what the fuck? Why am I paying more? Because I can't afford it. Oh, I don't know, because you can't pay if it costs you more. And this leaves a really, really bad taste in your prospect's mouth. And so what we want to do is we want to price anchor what the actual highest cost is going to be. So in this first scenario, it's $3K. And then after we present them the PIF, which is, you take it down and you yada yada and say it's $2K. And for context, but you're like, oh, but Stefan, I would lose money on this. No, you wouldn't. Most of your clients that pay the $1K a month churn after the first month anyway, which means that the LTV, the cash collection you actually get, is $1K. And so when you charge $2K and people actually pay it up front, you are guaranteeing that every person that pays stays for a minimum of 2 months. And if you know your numbers and you know your churn, you know your LTV, etc., you can literally calculate what your churn is, what your LTV is, and then just charge a little bit more than your LTV. And you would then even make more money, right? So if you know, let's make this very, very simple. If you charge, let's just say no definitive end date program, you charge $1K per month, okay? And let's just say it's a 12-month thing, so it's a one-year program. Let's say this is what you charge. And you know your average churn, right? So your average churn is, let's say, 8 months. This would mean your average LTV is 8K, right? 8K. That's your average LTV. So if you want to implement this smartly, here's what I would do, is I would say this. I'll even write it out for you. Here's what I would say. The cost of the program is $12K over the course of 12 months. However, if you like savings, I can knock off whatever the fuck, let's make this easy. I can knock off 3K and call it 9K one time today. And so look at what we've done. The cost of the program is 12K over the course of 9 months. However, if you like savings, I can knock off 3K and call it 9K one time today. Your choice. And so look at this. Look what we've just done here. Is now, look at this. Our average LTV was 8K. Right? That was our average LTV of our clients. And so with a new offer, we'd say it's 12K over the year, which is what it was anyway. Or 1K per month for the year, it would be 12K for the year. However, if you like savings, we can knock off 3K and call it 9K one time. So look at this. Our average LTV is 8. And so now if we start charging the 9K, look what happens. If we start to close people for 9K, we've now increased our LTV and got the money up front so we can spend it back in ads and the client will be more committed. You see how this works? If you know your numbers, see how good this works? And what happens is some people still say no to this, and they'll just pay you the 1K per month. That's totally fine as well. Fine by me, right? It's just going to cost them more money if they're going to stay anyway. Now, if you want to get really, really, really good with this, if you really want to become like an absolute master of this game, if you will, what you can do, and even I learned this from Alex Hormozi, is instead of just saying, hey, it's one time today, what you say is this. Is typically when you frame the offer like this and you say, or we call it 3K, call it 9K today, they're like, I don't know, I just want to do the 12 month. Why? Because people have commitment issues, right? They're bad at committing. They're very bad at this. They're very, very bad at committing, right? In business and relationships and life, people are bad at committing because they're scared, rightfully so. There's a lot of scammers out there. And so what you can do is say to them, hey man, no worries at all. My offer still stands until your next payment. So if by the time your next payment comes around, you still want to get your savings and prepay, we'll credit your first payment towards that, and you can pay the rest on that day. Let me know. And what happens is if you have an offer like this, it becomes really, really, really sexy. Especially if you do like this 3K one, right? So 3K over 90 days, 2K now if you prepay today. I don't know. And so actually it wouldn't really work for this one because the price would equal out. But let's say you do 4K. Right? And they say, I don't know, I'll pay the 1.3K today. Okay, fine. No worries. My offer still stands, but if by the time your next payment comes around, you want to take me up on that first offer, we can credit this payment to that, and then you can just pay the remainder then. And so here's what happens. Is let's say they pay the 1.3K, right? Or I believe, it's a 1.3K, right? They pay the 1.3K. 1.3. By the time their next payment comes around, they're going to pay another 1.3K, which would put them at 2K. 0.6K. Right? And in this scenario, it's 4K for the 90 days or 3K if they pay today. That will put them at 2.6K, which means if they pay an extra $400 more on that next payment, they would be done the whole program. So instead of having to pay another 1.3K later to finish up the 4K, they could literally just pay. I'll even show this to you visually so this makes sense. That's why a lot of people like these whiteboard videos. Okay? Here's how it works. They pay 1.3K today. Right? So this is payment number 1. Payment number 2 is they pay 1.3K here. And the payment number 3 is 1.3K here. But what happens is if, right, this would summarize to be 4K. Right? This would be 4K. But what you say is if, remember the payment thing, 3K, right? If you pay now, 3K one time. So what you say to them is, hey, if by the time your next payment comes around, you want to save some money, my offer still stands. You can prepay the rest of this. We'll credit the next payment. And so what that looks like is they've already paid 1.3K. So if we have 3K and we take away 1.3, then we can do some basic math here and see this would be 7, and I believe this would be 1. Right? If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's what it would be. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's correct, right? So 1.7. So if on their next payment, instead of paying 1.3, they just pay 1.7, the program will be done. So you see how this works? Is you just incentivize them to take your payment. You just make it like logical for them. They're like, wow, I'm already paying 1.3 pay anyway. Why not just pay $400 more and be done with the program? And so this is actually a really good offer for your clients as well. And then guess what happens is you've now increased your LTV if you know your numbers. You've decreased your churn because you have more people actually finishing their payment plans. You've now collected more cash. You can spend more money on ads and you can grow faster. That's the beauty of running PIFs if you do it properly. Okay? So I know this might look a little confusing, and that's probably because it is if you're looking at it right now. But I hope I've done a good job explaining how to sell a PIF. Right, so how to structure it, we just talked about that. How to sell a PIF, we talked about that. How to objection handle PIF is very simple. Right, so someone says to you, I don't know, well, whatever the fuck objection they want to give you, you simply just say, you find out what the real objection is. Right, and so the way we find out what the real objection is, I'll give you a bit of a masterclass here, is when someone gives you objection, I need to think about, I need to do this, I do that. No problem. Not a problem at all. Okay, for a second, let's go to Fairyland, money aside. Let's pretend this costs no money. How do you feel about the process specifically? Well, I feel pretty good. It's pretty solid. Okay, cool. No worries. Let me ask you a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being this is the absolute worst thing you've ever seen, 10, this is everything you need to get you to your goal, where do you say you fall? And what happens is if the person doesn't give you 9 or 10, if they give you 9 or 10, they'll be like, yeah, I'm a 9. It's just, I need to talk to my partner, it's a 10. Or I'm a 9, I just don't have the funds, otherwise I'd be a 10, right? Or it's a 10, I just don't have the money, right? Then you'll know the objection. Typically, people will say, yeah, I'm just a 7. I'm about a 7. Then you say to them, okay, what's stopping you from being an 8, 9, or 10? They then are going to give you the real objection. Now, if the real objection is, it's just a lot for me to commit, or it's a lot of money, or I'm not totally sure, then you know what the problem is, and it's associated with money. And then what you can say is, okay, let me ask you this. If the money is a big issue for you, if I was able to break it down to more digestible chunks, would that make more sense for you? Yes? Okay, cool. And then you just offer them this payment plan. Very simple. Okay? Very, 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 very simple. So look at that. Look at this masterpiece we've covered today on what is PIFs, how to use them, how to structure them, etc., etc., etc. So I hope you enjoyed this free training that you've now gotten access to that used to cost my clients a lot of money. Hope you can use it to make yourself make more money. If you have any questions on this, leave a comment down below, or you can even join my Discord and ask me questions in there. Okay, we have calls every single Monday, so you can jump on and help me and ask me questions if you have any concerns or questions on how to structure your PIF. But there you go. That's how to structure PIFs. That's how to make more money, decrease churn, and all that other fun stuff. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Catch you in the next one. Peace.